Hey guys, Mike Toy, Bonsai Boise. So it is now July 30th. We're nearing the midpoint of summer where a lot of the trees go dormant for a short period in summer. So I thought I'd do a quick walkthrough of some of the trees and just do kind of a summertime update. So let's go. Okay, I'm back. So I'm going to start here just by kind of giving you a lay of the land. So that's my back door. We're going to call that ground zero. So I'm going to start right here and just give a spin. So trees start from here on benches. Some back there. I've got some actually on the other side of the house, which I'm going to walk around and show you all the pertinent ones. First, just thought I'd give you a quick look. And then here's the ugly side that I don't really show in any of the videos. Yeah, that's where all the magic happens right there. It's real glamorous. But basically, just to give you an idea, so that is west, south, and east. So I found this spot to be the best spot, depending on what time of day it is, where the lighting is just right, because nothing sucks worse than making a video on a cool tree only to find out that it turned out terrible. So all right, so let's start over here. So I got propagation station there. There's really nothing worth looking at. Propagation station 2, this is kind of where I start here with it because it gets the most shade, and then I move it over here once they're pretty well established and doing okay, because this gets partial shade, if I can spit that out. So I've got some shantung maple cuttings there and there, some Ficus benjaminas, got a lilac back there, some privets, really nothing too glamorous. That's where those go. Now this table is an interesting spot for me, at least, because it gets really great morning light and some early afternoon light, but shaded for the rest of the day. So this is where they go when they are in rehab or repair. So here I've got my Schefflera clump. This is the one that I did last year. I got that $10 clearance special. I did an update on it recently, just to, if you want to check that out. It wasn't looking so good, so I moved it here, and now, as you can see, it's bouncing back real well. So Katsura Japanese maple. The leaves were getting kind of burnt on it. If I can get a better look. Yeah, so I was getting a lot of this here, so thought I'd give it some time in rehab and let it, bounce back, which it is. This is the first Amur maple that I've had. I've had this going on 6 years now. It did the normal thing that it always does, which is where the leaves turn waxy, papery, and so I did a defoliation on it. It's not bouncing back as quickly this time around. But as you can see, it is bouncing back. This is a tiger bark ficus. Why is this tiny little stick in this gigantic pot, you ask? Well, it's a long story, but what I can tell you is that it's my first attempt at root over rock. So there's a big rock in there, and I tried to do it a different way with the netting around it like they show you in all the videos, and it just wasn't working for me. So maybe I'll show you the blooper reel of that someday. It didn't go well. So right now I've got it in there. All right, moving on here. So just kind of a random assortment, but tiger bark ficus that I'm shaping a certain way. Schefflera, this one I'm just letting grow tall. There's my daughter Kaya, there's my daughter Kaya's tree, and Gavin's. Got a bunch of oaks. All these oaks are grown from seed. Some willows in there. This was kind of a cool little weird willow. I liked the shape of it, so I put it in this pot and just letting it do its thing. My little curvy silver maple here. More oaks and willows. It's an Amur maple that is doing really well. I've got a bunch of these now, and this one's growing very vigorously like that. This one's doing all right. That one's not doing all right at all. Okay. Just a little willow cutting I took off of a willow tree at a park. It's my Shantung maple. I'm gonna do a trim on this here soon, but it bounced back from the repot that I did this spring really well. I mean, this thing has always been a champ, so I'm really happy about that. I took kind of a risk with the gigantic cuts I did on it, but the risk paid off. The air layers did not work, unfortunately, but that's okay. The tree survived. All right, moving on here. Another tiger bark ficus, and I'm experimenting with a lot of these. I do cuttings with these Ficus benjaminas and tiger bark ficus and chifleurs all the time. You know, they don't always make it, but I like to do it so that way I've got material to work with and experiment with and play with, and sometimes they work out pretty cool, so it pays off. Another silver maple. I've had this for 6 or 7 years now. Hasn't done a whole lot, honestly. Got it in this tiny pot at the moment. Back here, let me move this guy out of the way temporarily. This is a green ash tree. It's actually was at one time 2 green ash trees, which I am sure is completely fused together in the roots there now, but it's always had some character. I've had this 6 years, I think. Repotted it just this spring of 2019. One thing I'm going to point out here, I used this insecticide from Zamzows. I think it's called Z1 if I remember right. I posted a little blurb about it in another video. I'm going to post a picture of it right here. So I don't know what happened. I mean, its purpose is to kill insects and not harm the trees, right? But it has harmed the trees. So if you see here, on several of my trees, they're just kind of deformed. A lot of the leaves went yellow. Get it to focus here. A lot of the leaves went yellow on these, but then the leaves went really deformed. So I'm going to show you a couple of silver maples on the other side of the house where the example is, you couldn't miss it if you tried. We'll get back to that. Here's my western sand cherry. Just did a trim on this and did a video recently, and I realized after watching my own video that I really should have taken off this branch here, which I'm going to do. Whoop, sorry. World's worst cameraman at work. But I really need to take off this branch because A, it's too low. As you can see there, it's just too low. And B, we've got 3 branches coming off the trunk, and there should only be 2. It should go from 1 to 2, 2 to 4, etc. So, sorry little branch, but you gotta go. Don't know how I missed that when I was doing the video, but I did. Silver maple back there. Dwarf pomegranate, which I thought was a sarissa for a very long time. I say very long, I really only had it just last year, but got it on clearance for $8 at a nursery. They didn't know what it was. I didn't know what it was. They said they thought it was sarissa. I went with sarissa. Turns out, dwarf pomegranate. Podocarpus. I haven't really done much with it. I'm just kind of letting it grow. And grow it is. I had it wired for a while, but took it off. I didn't want to leave any wire scars, and it sort of kept its shape. So that one's got a ways to go. I'm just letting it do its thing. And trying one of these fusion attempts here with the Ficus benjamina. I've got lots of Ficus benjaminas in about this, and let me find a good example. Here's a good one. So I've got a lot of them in this shape and size at the moment. All cuttings. But pre-bonsais, I'll do something with them. I give bonsais away as gifts a lot. You know, company Christmas parties and whatever. And everybody loves and appreciates all of them all the time, I swear. I'm sure most of them die, like within the first month. Oak leaf sumac. Did a couple of videos on this one. See if I can make some room. It's very crowded around here at the moment. Oak leaf sumac, aka Rus trilobata. It's doing okay. Got a little bit of the shriveled up leaf syndrome from that insecticide, but otherwise it bounced back really well. And I was worried about it, honestly, when I did the initial repot on it last fall, because I really hacked away, but it's doing great. Little Schefflera mini clump, I guess you could call it. Not sure what I plan to do with it. I just stuck them in there for now. That's my Siberian elm. I'm going to come around to that in a second. Another one of those Schefflera misfit clumps. So inconvenient when they all survive sometimes. Like, great, now what am I going to do with this? I forget what kind of lilac this is, but it is some kind of lilac. Here's a dwarf Korean lilac. I've heard it called all kinds of different things. I've heard it called, oh, it's some kind of like, what is it, like princess or something? Can't remember now, I'm trying to think of it. But anyways, did a video on this spring, and it's doing well. The little juniper that could, it's just growing like crazy. Honestly, since it's the only juniper I have, I don't really give it a whole lot of attention. I just sort of let it go, but as you can see here, you kind of see the old growth in there. You see the change in colors versus the new growth. So it's growing really well. I'm just gonna let it do its thing, and I'll give it a trim probably this fall. But I'm real happy with how it's doing. Here we've got the friendly neighborhood wasps that all want to kill me. Deal with them at some point. Siberian elm forest, which no matter what kind of lighting I have or angle I get, I can never get a good, decent look at it on the camera. But some of them are doing really well, growing like crazy. Some of the pieces in here are not. This one here died. That one's sort of hanging on. Same here, this one actually was in the same shape, but it's bouncing back a little bit now. That one has just been barely hanging on like that all summer. So I don't know. It won't get in or out. Thought maybe I could get a better look at it from here, but sometimes it doesn't matter what angle I hit this from. It's just kind of hard to tell. I'll have to put a little more thought into that. There's another clearance Schefflera clump. Not 100% sure yet what I'm going to do with it, but we got some great potential in there, as you can see. So, don't know yet. I'm in no hurry. Anyways, a couple lemon trees there and there, grown from seed. Just an ordinary lemon, grew from seed. Cotonisters. This one's growing a little wild. That one's growing a little wild. That one's not growing as wild. I just did a trim on this recently. This one is growing kind of wild. I'm trying the air roots pruning. I forget what it's called, but essentially it's where the roots just grow out of the pot on all the sides, and the air dries them up, and they kind of prune themselves. So that's working so far. I haven't done anything to it other than put it in there a year and a half ago, almost 2 years. Tiger bark ficus. I did a slip pot on this earlier this spring, and it is bouncing back real well. More Scheffleras, blah, blah, blah. Now, interesting thing about this Ficus benjamina here, and this one here. This one, I've done a couple of repots on, did video on both, and got a lot of hits on that. So I moved these two Ficus benjaminas outside about a week too early. I knew I was sort of pushing it, thought I could get away with it. It was sometime in April, and then we just had this sort of unexpected cold snap, and I thought I lost them both. I mean, all the leaves fell off of both of them. They looked pretty well dead. I was close to calling it, but I cut a couple of the branches and it was still green, and they sort of hung in there for months really, and then just recently started to bounce back. So I am going to repot this one soon because I think it might be root bound, but that's the story on that. So let's go take a look at those. Okay, it's going to be hard to tell, some weeds growing back here, but that is a Virginia creeper. Have not done a repot on that one yet, and I need to. It's not doing so hot. This one, I don't know what the deal is on this one, because I did a repot on it. I did the video and everything, and it sort of grew a little, and then it just kind of like slowed down and started acting all wimpy. So I don't know if I did something wrong or what, but who cares? We'll see. We'll let nature do its thing. I think this is called, if I remember right, a presidential Grevy lilac. Had this for a little while now. I did not do any trimming on it at all. I've noticed that this one does not respond well to pruning at all. Amur maple. Like I said, I'm experimenting with different things. I thought this one, let's put it in a larger pot, one that is like ridiculously oversized for it, and just let it grow. Just untouched, just let it go. And so that's what I'm doing. And as you can see, it is much taller than the ones over there that I showed you a minute ago. So, I mean, it's not rocket science or anything, just wanted to see how it did. It's doing well. Silver maple, one of my favorite silver maples. I just defoliated this one almost all the way about a week ago. I did a video on this recently where I defoliated it, and since then, this thing grows so vigorously. Since then, I've had to defoliate it. I think this was the 3rd or 4th time. I mean, it just grows like crazy. Like so much so, here, give you an example. So these branches will come and then just shoot way up. So if I let it go unchecked, I mean, this thing, it'll shoot these like long leggy branches up to like here. So I really have to stay on top of that one. Wisteria. I bought this for $10 at Walmart about 3 years ago. Sort of just hung in there, had it in a little pot, it grew a little. This year I put it in that pot there, put it in a spot where it gets full sun, and it's just gone wild. In about 2 months it's done all this. So it's grown through the fence and then looped around. I saw a thing on Huron's Bonsai, Peter Chan was talking about the way to tell if it is a Chinese or a Japanese wisteria is that the Japanese wisteria circles around clockwise, the Chinese wisteria circles around counterclockwise. Haven't really even looked to see what this one's doing. So let's see, it's going up, up, up. I believe clockwise, right? Because it's up. Yeah, so this must be a Japanese wisteria. Okay. What do you know? We solved it. Raspberry bush. You know, some kid lost his ball or something recently, jumped the fence, landed right in the bush. So it's kind of just, you know, a little droopy on the sides there. Let's see if I can back up. So that's it there, and then you got this side drooping that way and this side drooping that way. Kind of funny. I can't even remember the name of this one right now off the top of my head. Orange something. Gosh darn. Can't think of it. Oh well. Willow tree. Corkscrew willow. Done a couple videos on this. Did one just recently where I repotted it into this pot. This one also just grows like crazy. So funny story. 1.5 years ago, a friend gave me this as a cutting about that big. Similar, you know, give or take a little bit, but it was about that big. Stuck it in a bottle of water, grew some roots, stuck it in a pot. Since then, this is what it's done in about 1.5 years. I need to really rotate it. Blueberry bush back there. It's interesting here. Almost looks like you could maybe bonsai this at some point. I don't know. Never looked up a blueberry bonsai, but I might give it a shot. My one and only Yamadori of the year. I dug this up close to the river. It's a silver maple. I just thought it had some really cool looking bark to it. Didn't think it was going to make it at first, but then all of a sudden it did. So it's growing. I'm trying to get it to grow more up here, and it did, and then all of a sudden the leaves just fell off of these ones. So I'm like, crap, I don't want it growing down there. I want it growing up here so I can capture some of this trunk, but you know, trees got a mind of their own sometimes. Okay, couple left. Oh, this one, funny story. Willow cutting. Its name is Loki. My girlfriend and her son and I went on a rope swing last summer. I swam across the river, snapped a piece of branch off of this willow tree that was there. Didn't have a knife or clippers or anything, just snapped it off. Carried that thing around for an extra hour or two, you know, just dipping it in the water every so often. They thought I was nuts. I came home, put it in a pot, and what do you know? Loki came to life. Willows are super easy to propagate. Here's my Siberian elm bonsai. One thing I'm struggling with lately is this ugly bulge down here. So I think what I'm going to try, this is the current thought at least, I'm going to try to air layer it next spring, so I can keep all this cool movement here. Gosh, the lighting is bad, cameraman is bad, heat is bad, can't get a good angle here. But anyways, what I'm trying to, I guess, show is that it's got some cool movement. I don't want to lose that, but also I'm tired of dealing with this ugly bulge, so I think I'm going to air layer it somewhere around here, keep the top part, and then just grow a new one starting from ground zero down there. So that's the story on that. Okay, coming around here to the side. Fun story on this is that $10 clearance Schefflera clump that I did. These were just cuttings. I just stuck it in this thing and they took. Scheffleras also propagate very easy. Alright, so here's the story on these two silver maples. This one and this one. Remember that stuff from Zamzows I was telling you about? So here's what it does. See, it's like they're... Let me get a good one here. It's like they're deformed. They're like little alien hands is what they look like. But yeah, I've had these each for 5 or 6 years, and I can tell you for sure they are not supposed to look like this. So I'm not saying for sure it's from that insecticide that I got at Zamzows. Who knows? Maybe just the insect problem hit them too hard and I was too late. I don't know what the real cause is. But what I do know is that this... I don't know what to make of it. I mean, even the leaves that are growing back now, because it lost almost all the foliage. Both of these did. But then, growth happens again. But then even the new growth comes back all deformed like that. So I don't know. If anybody else out there has ever seen that happen, cool, tell me. And last but not least, I believe that is a apple grown from seed. I kind of forget what seeds these are. These two, I believe, are Eastern red buds. Friend gave me some seeds. I think that's what those are. This, I couldn't tell you. I don't know what that is. I don't know. Can't remember. This, I think, is an apple. Or maybe it's another Eastern redbud. I don't really know. Maybe that's the apple over there. Who knows? That is a hibiscus cutting. Okay. Let's wrap it up. All right, so there we go. Just wanted to give you a quick update of some of the trees here. It's kind of a mess around here right now. It's the middle of summer. What can I say? I got cuttings everywhere, but that's okay. Hope you enjoyed the video. If so, please click like and subscribe and leave me some comments if you like, or add some knowledge that you've got on one or any of the other trees that you saw here, and check out some other videos that I've got on all these trees individually and see some other stuff I'm working on. So thanks for watching, everybody. Have a good night.